Welcome to Networking Knowledge. Join Dave Plunkett, founder at Collaboration Junkie and Partnerships and Referral Strategy Guru, and Paul the Banksy of LinkedIn, founder at Javelin Content and co-founder at Marketing Help Desk, as they discuss networking in real life, what it is, how to do it well, and share their incredible expertise. This is real life networking. Stop. It's hammer time, damn it.
Welcome back for, wow, it feels like it's been forever since we did one of these, Dave.
It has been a little while, hasn't it?
That long, I don't think. It's maybe 3 or 4 weeks. Life's got in the way a little bit, but that's part of it all, right?
Yes.
How are you today, Dave? Are you looking forward to this? Ready to rock?
I am, yeah. I've just got off a kind of a podcast interview, so I'm kind of in full kind of that type of mode. So yeah, no, the sun is shining. It's been a good week, so yeah, looking forward to it.
I'm buzzing. Like I've actually been invited to do my very first in-person podcast, an actual podcast studio. I've never done that before. I've always been king of amateur podcasts. So I'm really looking forward to doing something a little bit more pro. That'll be interesting. Limited run series.
Nice.
If you're in the audience today, thank you very much for coming along. This is a live stream. I shout it out every time, and we've had some fantastic engagement. We've got Paula, who's here again. Thank you very much for coming along, Paula. Being a big supporter of the series. Thanks for your time. Yeah, this works loads better when we get really good questions and comments from the audience. So please, as we're going along, if you want to shout something out, shout it out. If I can say it without breaking LinkedIn rules, I'll bring it up on the screen, right? If it breaks the rules, I might just say it anyway, because that's the kind of guy I am. This week's episode, this episode, it's not this week's, because we don't do it weekly, right? This episode is all about the breaking apart the common networking phrase, your network is your net worth. And Dave, you've been hammering that home to me for the longest time. There's a lot to unpack with it. It doesn't feel like it when you say it out loud, but there is a lot to unpack with it. How did you first come to align with that phrase, Dave? Where did it first come across for you, and how has it worked in your favour?
So I can't remember when I first came across it, but whenever I did, it resonated, right? And worth can mean very different things at different points in your journey. Your network provides different value to you, right? And you're able to offer different value to different members of your network at any given time. But I think the core thing here, and it speaks to the very, very thing that we speak about on each of these live streams, that networking isn't just about collecting contacts. It's about properly connecting with people and adding and giving value, right? And so while on the face of it, for people that do this stuff naturally, it's like, yeah, of course my network's my net worth. Like, think about how I think about all the value I've got from it. And I like to think that they think the same. For those people listening that maybe aren't as ingrained in this way of being as others, it can seem something really flippant, because it's only your biggest asset if that speaks to your values anyway. And actually you need to, it's something you've got to be proactive about. If you want to it truly to truly find its worth, you need to be both willing to give and receive, and being proactive and intentional about it.
I think that it's one of those phrases that no matter how long you've been networking for, it always seems to take on a nuance every time you think you've achieved a different stage of networking. So I've gone through various different stages of networking. I went through the whole, I had to really go in knee deep and network wide and far, because I had no network whatsoever, and I was going through that whole exploration phase and trying to figure it all out. And I think the thing with your net worth for me, is that when I first started out, I come out 15 years in retail, and I felt like I had nothing to offer in a networking conversation, because all my experience was leadership sales in retail, and I was talking to people who themselves were already senior leaders and had a totally different industry to me. So I was really struggling to figure out how on earth, as a solutions consultant, I could network with people and add value. And the penny dropped one day when I realized that just connecting people could be a big part of the worth that I added to people, because I was connecting with so many different people from lots of different industries and backgrounds, having the skill set to be able to realize that actually, although you two are in different industries or in different journeys, you could benefit each other by coming together and having a conversation, or your services help each other out, or all those sorts of things. And once that penny dropped, I realized what my network was really about. And I think that's the bit that a lot of people really struggle with. They go to networking meetings and they wrongly assume that it's about kind of collecting business cards and at some point intending to connect people. But unless you actually make those connections, you're not always going to find the value in what you can add to things. But so certainly anybody who worries that they have nothing to add to a networking conversation, right, first up, you're wrong, because you absolutely do. You just need to find it, and that is your net worth.
Yeah, and I would agree. And just to build on that, though, there's a word I think I'm going to use a lot on this episode. That's connection, and by connection I mean genuine connection with a person, not a LinkedIn connection. I mean an actual connection, right? And you took the time to properly connect with people, right? That's what you do. And when you do that, that means you're able to join those dots. Because I think if you're someone who does it superficially, like plays lip service, then when you make connections or you put a request out to your network for some help or support, whatever it may be, if you're superficial about how you gather connections, then those requests and those introductions aren't going to land. So it's harder for you to give the value as well as receive it. If it is something like a networking scenario, because the thing is, you can't, other people may disagree with this, but you can't have one-to-ones of absolutely everyone you meet, right? It's just not realistic for a lot of people, right? So that means if you are in a more traditional networking environment, it's better to have 10 good conversations than it is 30. Get around all 30 people in the room and have their business card, right? Because even 10 minutes with someone, even 5 minutes with someone, it's a bit more of a connection than hey, what you do? Yeah, great. Hi, move on, right? You just need to know not just what someone sells, but what they do, who they are, so that you can take a bit more, you can connect properly, have a bit of interest, understand them. And that comes from a quality over quantity approach.
Yeah, I think that's something that it's a hard lesson to learn, because you can quickly become a busy fool with networking. And I fell into that trap at one point, and I was networking with tons and tons of different people, and not all of them were relevant or even people that I should have been focusing on. What I will say though is, as you're going about all of that, you need to guard your network very closely, right? And what I mean by that is there will be bad actors that come into play, and you need to prune them from your network. Because, you know, I'll give you an example, and it's not a ridiculously bad example, right? But like, if I introduce two people together, I expect them to more or less take my word that there's a value in that conversation and do the right thing and figure it out. And if I keep adding connections to you that are irrelevant to you, then I'm a bad actor. But likewise, if I introduce two people together and one of the two doesn't respond or doesn't meet that other person, that's very frustrating for me, because I've given you a bit of my credibility and you've effectively thrown it in my face.
Yes.
So I don't tolerate that with my connections. If I introduce you, I'm generally right. You just need to see it. And Lincoln also comes up with a good point here whilst we're chatting, is that there's a big difference between having a network and a community. That is a great point. That is a really great point, right?
Yes, absolutely. And you treat them in different ways. You communicate with them in different ways. Like, I'm someone that's ran a membership organization before, right? And even within that community, you'll have people I'm sure you'll have people that you would count from within your closer network. And it's understanding it's understanding there's many different levels of people within your network. I did a talk for a bunch of founders yesterday on understanding and leveraging the value in your network, and part of it is about understanding the different kind of circles of your network, from your really close inner network and then radiating outwards from there, right? And you communicate with those in a different way, and you add value to them in a different way. You stay in touch with them in a different way. And I think having a knowledge and an awareness of your network and of those different kind of levels of closeness, I think is a key thing. And for some of them, there's the whole givers gain thing, which is maybe something we unpack another time, right? It's another famous networking saying. But in terms of giving value to your network so that you're then someone that can extract when you need it as well, some people, it's not about personal, direct one-to-one value. It's what can you do in general. Run webinars, do lives, how good is the content that you put out? Are you all that other good stuff? And then you've got your slightly closer network where it's making introductions, and then you've got the people that you look out for. If you haven't spoken to them in a little while, drop them a message and you see how they're doing. And it's understanding those different levels allow you to build your network in the right way. Yeah.
I think that kind of segues nicely into something that Clint's brother here has said. Sorry, I had to say that. Sorry. So like, and I think this is right. Like, not every networking interaction needs to be a lot of effort, right? And it shouldn't be if you're doing it right. For the majority, there will be some limited situations where you want to kind of go that extra mile and put some real effort behind things because you see an absolute dynamite partnership happening and you want to make that happen. And sometimes, right, that is on behalf of other people as well. So, you know, like if I'm introducing two people and maybe one of them's quite a new networker, or they're a little bit unconfident, or they just don't see things sometimes, I'll go the extra mile to make sure that they fully understand that value that is there in front of them with the person I'm connecting them to and the person I'm introducing them to. I think you can do that in lots of different ways. So like we've discussed this in the past. I often drop a voice note to the person who I'm introducing, give them a bit of extra context that's not in the introduction email or the introduction message, because I don't want to overcomplicate that message and make or identify to the other person that this person might be a bit new to the game. I want them to come in on level terms so they can meet each other in the middle. But I absolutely think that you can do a lot of good with very little with networking.
And sometimes you have to be an introduction, right? It could just be someone that's worth them following. It could be an event they might find interesting. It might be a book. It could be a post going, oh, thought of this, right? It's like Guy says, those little things really do add value. But in terms of flipping it the other way, because we've spoken about how to give value to your network loads, right, on previous episodes, in terms of how you then make the most of all that goodwill, and like even saying it sounds like it shouldn't be a bad thing to leverage your network, right? People love to help. You've just got to make it easy for them to help. Like, I'm sure, I know, in fact, I know this, Paul. I know the people listening, when you do that nice thing and it goes well, it makes you feel good as well, right? So by asking your network for help around whatever area you need, if you make it easy for them to do it, you're actually giving them a chance to feel nice about themselves, right? It's a good thing. But it's about understanding where to ask for help, because there's all sorts of things, right? It's not just about referrals for potential clients or partners. It could be advice. It could be a product or software recommendation. Maybe it's you're looking for a new team member. Maybe it's anything and everything, right? There's a good chance that if an unexpected problem has come up, or even an unexpected challenge or opportunity has come up in your business, there is probably someone out there right now who you know who could help you get through it so much quicker than you doing it by yourself. And I'm not talking about free consultation and trying to blag free consultancy services, but there is people out there that can help in so many ways. I think the trick is to remembering that, but also understanding the different, not only the level of closeness and those circles, but when you take the time to connect properly and you have a knowledge of what they do, understanding who can help you where. Because if you just pester the same few people for this everything all the time, it's going to get tedious. But there are specialists within your network, either in what they do or who they know or their onward network, and you only get that from connecting properly. There's that connection word again, right?
I love it. And you know what, you triggered me a little bit when you mentioned software tools or apps that you can recommend to them, right? Because I do this all the time. I love playing about with new tools and third-party tools and software and things, and some of those are relatively cheap and inexpensive, but still, like the act of playing about with them takes time and effort and learning curve and aptitude sometimes as well. And you know, a lot of people are icky about affiliate links for software, right? I'm a big fan of affiliate links for software. You've got to approach it in the right way. And I think there's a lesson here for your network as well, right? You can apply the same to your network. Is I will only bother to register as an affiliate for software that I will stand behind, that I personally have used and tested and that I love, and I think it serves a real purpose. And when I find someone who is in the same boat I was when I tested it out, I will give them that affiliate link. Yes, I earn something from doing that. So, like, that's not the point. They earn something from doing that. They'll probably get like a free month trial or 20% off or something. More to the point, I've gone to the effort of getting that affiliate link because I feel like it shows that I think they're credible. And I think you can apply that to people as well as software. I went all philosophical for a bit there. Did you notice, Dave? Do you like that?
Yeah. Well, there's a sense of partnership
I
ethos.
only give out links for people, and I only connect people who I believe in. And the moment I stop believing in you, your affiliate link is dead to me. Sorry, that's the way it goes.
I like that.
Don't fall off the affiliate link tree.
Yeah, well, it speaks to my I like the link tree bit there. Nicely done. It speaks to you know this from being on my group programs. It speaks to my whole thing around partnerships, right? If you're forming a commercial relationship with someone, and for me it's lead gen partnerships, so it's not proper channel sales, but it's highly qualified leads. I'm a big believer in putting some commercials behind that if the space that you're operating in is acceptable to that. But it's all about the partner value proposition. That's 90% of the reason why it's there and why you should partner with someone, is because you can offer an amazing level of service to their clients that helps them look better, or vice versa on the other end, right? And it's not, even where there are commercials in place, that should never be the reason. That's not how you want to do it.
And like, even if you are doing that, so I'll jump back onto what Paul has just said in the comments, which is a great point. Is, you know, sometimes it just does you good to kind of have that almost stranger, but not quite. All right, you're talking here to a guy who invited 4 people to his wedding who he'd never met in real life, right, during COVID. Right, I met people online. I got close to them. We built some amazing relationships. I'm still in touch with every single one of those people. I love them to bits. They're a fantastic part of my world now, right? And I think networking can be that. It's not just for business purposes. You can also use it as a social tool as well.
Yeah,
and you should, to an extent.
Right. So it's about that thing about being specific again, around knowing what you're asking from your network, around what you need to get value from, and on that side, I couldn't agree more with what Paula says. So just have that intent. Like for me, I'm a member of a mastermind, of a peer group, and I have been, not the same one, but I've been a master peer groups now for 5+ years, and I would not be without it. Any solo business owner, I say the number one thing you should do is have a peer group, so that, and you can either form that yourself or you can do it formally, because that's a different type of value you're getting from your network. That's me going and either getting positive validation, like Paula mentioned, or sometimes people go, no, you do not want to be doing that, and you realize that, or someone makes it aware that it's a shiny object that you're chasing after and keep you on track. That support, whether it's challenges or celebrating wins, that's another piece of worth. But only if you recognize it as that. Only if you go, you know what, I'm going to develop a net. I'm either going to go and find one, and there's plenty of organizations out there that do it. Shout outs to Outside Ideas, or you create it yourself. But you have to be intentional about it. You have to go, you know what, here's a bunch of people that I trust, and actually I'm going to I'm going to get value in that way, and hopefully they know that they can get that value back from me.
Yeah, and I think a good gauge of how close you are to the people in your network comes along with how much you have to prioritize getting in touch with them to make it happen. Because we're all living busy lives, we all have a million things to do. But do you know what? I always have time for the people that matter in my network. Always. Doesn't matter how busy I get. You can delay that, like, you know, and if you head down in delivery and you're doing stuff, like, yeah, fine. Like, nobody's saying that you have to spend time in the middle of all that to stay in touch with people. Absolutely not. But if I have to write myself a note to say get in touch with Dave, and then 3 weeks later it's still sat there on my to-do list, oh, I'm sorry, Dave, but you're not that important to me.
Yeah.
Right. But I don't even need to write an appointment for Dave. I'll just send him a WhatsApp and go, let's have a
We do voice note
because it's been too long. Or
we do voice
note,
notes. We do voice notes. So we
video each other, or.
But again, that comes from understanding your network and knowing those circles, who sits where, right? Because if you try and keep in touch with everyone all the time, it's not going to work. You're not going to do it. You're going to burn out. And so I think trying to kind of put some clarity around this for people, for me, your network absolutely is your net worth when you understand your network, because it's only when you really understand your network that you're able to give value to it, and you're able to understand the value that they can offer to you when the time is right. And sometimes I would say the value exchange isn't always an equal one, but that's fine, because like there are people that I know I probably give more value to than I get from, but I know that they will have relationships that are like that as well, and that's fine. You kind of you know that, but it's people of a similar ilk, and I think that it's just being intentional about your relationships. You know, that's one of my favorite words.
I think that's a fantastic point, like point in case, right? And we're going to talk about this in a little bit more detail once we come offline, because I need to catch up with you on bits and pieces. But you introduced me to the fantastic Chris Reeve from Reeve Social Media a while back, right? And it was one of those conversations that sometimes they're just handy people to know, like different people in different industries. And me and Chris have hit it off really, really well, right? So it's great. We've had some great conversations. We've got some ideas. The problem that we have is that it's not a problem. The challenge that I see with that relationship is I sit a bit further down the pipeline for his clients than him for me, right? Generally, people, by the time they come to want video created, they've already got their social media boxed off. So he can be an expert that recommends my services in. However, my clients rarely need his services because they've already done that bit by the time they come to me. And so I went into the relationship a little bit uneasy because I like to be able to give back to people. Chris, meanwhile, identified that he would love to learn how I do video, because he doesn't really want to outsource. He wants to learn how to do a little bits himself for his own purposes. And I've volunteered to put my time behind it and showcase how to use the platforms that I use for nothing. I'm not interested in how I, charge and payment for that. And Chris has been absolutely battering me to let him pay for my time. And I'm like, no, you're not paying for my time. I'm here to help out. You're a really good guy. I don't do this for everyone, but I know the value will come down the line when you put clients to me. And, later that day, along comes a client. Chris has introduced me. We're going to have a conversation in a couple of months' time. That might turn into something. The benefits aren't always immediately obvious. But if you align with someone and they're a good person, then you can help them out, and you don't have to nobody has to feel like they owe the other person too much, because it will always, and it always goes around in circles. It always comes back and works itself out in the end. And that ties in nicely with something Julie said whilst we were chatting a little bit earlier on, is I agree with this completely. Once you've either worked together or added value for someone, it helps you stick in their head, and it makes it very, very easy to refer people. It's much harder to refer someone you've just met than it is somebody who you've actually gone through their process, worked through their strategy, their framework, their course, their services, whatever.
That's because people refer you for what you do rather than what you sell. And I'm going to give a big shout out to David from Purple Frog, who said that on one of my referral cohorts, and he kind of articulated my view on referrals way more concisely than I've ever been able to, and it's going to be the headline on my LinkedIn post later. But I think Lou's right. It's essentially but if you want people to help you, you need to make it easy for the people that want to help you to do so. And so when it comes down to that piece, there's something that I think is two things you have to be. You have to have clarity. So what help are you looking for? If that's an introduction, a real clarity around the type of introduction. If it's a bit of support, real clarity around that. And context, clarity and context. Context is king. Like if you want people to open up with their advice, their connections, their recommendations, or just their support, then do them the service of giving them a context of why, how it's going to help, or how you can help the person you're looking for an introduction to, because that's everything. Because it comes down to that trust thing again that you spoke about. That you use my line, right? Every time someone makes a recommendation, then they're trusting you not just with a contact, but with their own reputation. So for me, it's all about clarity and context, and then you're able to really, if you've connected properly, you're able to really, really make your network work for you.
I love that, and there's a fairly famous piece of research that was done in the States some years ago, and it's part of lots of behavioral science textbooks and things, where they were at a university. I don't remember which university. I barely remember what I had for breakfast most days, to be fair. And they wanted to test how much importance giving a reason for things had on the other person's responses. And so there's a queue, like this is back in the 90s, right? There's a queue for the fax machine, the copier. And there's 5 or 6 people in the queue, and they tested it by asking people to try and skip into the queue with their thing that they needed to fax or copy. And the tall and short of it came out that the people who gave an excuse, even if that excuse or the reason they needed to be in there was absolute garbage, it was accepted 75% of the time more than people who just tried to barge in, right? And as a British person, I find the idea of somebody barging in the queue horrendous. Like they're absolutely going down with a black eye. But this, like people were excusing themselves in and saying, "Oh, I'm sorry, can I just skip into the queue? I just need to fax this off." Like, what a rubbish excuse. Of course you need to fax it off. That's why we're all stood in the bloody queue. Yeah. But people would let them because they're given a reason. They're given context. And I think that ties in nicely with what you said. It's like, you don't have to feel that giving that reason or that context makes you ick or it's all about you. Oh. It's not. It just helps people to decide whether they want to give you their time, their network, and their help in a way that means they've got the full picture. And if they say no, then they say no. But like 9 times out of 10, they're going to say yes, because people absolutely like to help each other.
Yeah, people do. You just got to make it easy, and the easier you make it for people to do it, the more likely they are to. Right? It's just human. It's just human nature. So,
absolutely. Well, I think that draws to an end this episode, and Dave, we need to do more. I love doing these. It's just a nice little break in the middle of the week. It's not really about my business, and it's something that I love to help people and add value with. So I'm thoroughly enjoying them. Thank you very much for being my co-host.
What pleasure as always.
If you've come along and watched, look, shout outs to Paula. We've got Link in there. We've got Guy. We've got Joe. We've got Julie. There is any number of fantastic people who are themselves. I've seen you all about, most of you on LinkedIn. Believe it or not, I've watched you. I've seen you. There's been some, James as well. There's been some fantastic networkers themselves in the comments. So if you're new to networking and you want to branch out to people, I'd encourage you, drop a comment. Tell people who you want to meet, why you want to meet them, or what you're interested in networking for. Let's open the comments up to people to connect with each other as well, right? I think that's a really nice idea of how we can help people expand their networks. So certainly for me and Dave, connect with us on LinkedIn, reach out, drop us a line. We'd love to hear from you and how we might be able to help you. And we will see you again in the not too distant future.
Have a great end of the week, people.
Have a great week. And I hope for those of you in the UK who have children off school for Polling Day, I hope you survive the rest of the day. I'm off for childcare duties in a moment.
Hello, I'm Paul. This has been Networking Knowledge Unleashed. I hope you've enjoyed the show. We've shared lots of tips today, and now it's our time to shout a little bit about what we each other do. I want to introduce Dave. Dave is a fantastic personality. As you can probably tell, he has bags of energy and positivity, and he helps businesses with their partnerships and referral strategies. He's helped my business massively. I thought I knew it all. I didn't. I went through his course and he radically changed the direction of my business. And I'm already seeing new leads coming into my business from the partners that Dave told me to match up with. So I can't recommend Dave enough. He is a fantastic personality. And if you'd like to know more about how Dave can help you in your business, the details of his next webinar, which will be free, are coming up below in the comments. Make sure you reach out, register, and take part. I promise you it is time well spent.
Thanks, Paul. Now my turn to recommend you, I guess. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you're looking to build your personal brand through video, or you want to do more video, but you're nervous about where to start, or it seems like a faff, then speak to Paul. He is an absolute expert at not only getting the right content from you, but then repurposing it so that the content you do goes such a long way. Speak to this man. He's an absolute legend.